Hi guys, how you doing? My name's Kevin Guthrie. I'm a good friend of Johnny's. I've been asked to answer a few quick fire questions. Hopefully I don't take up too much of your time. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Question number 1. So it was my first big film audition, a very famous film now. Unfortunately I can't say which one, but I'm led to believe that it was between myself and 2 other young actors at the time, and the lad that got it did a really brilliant job and has went on to have a wonderful career. But I felt for sure that it was my moment, it was my time, it was my calling in life to get this role and be a success. And it really didn't happen for me, and I just felt as gutted as I've ever felt, because I thought that I was so close, and the dream, so to speak, was so close yet so far. And what it has done is allowed me to realise and opened up my eyes to the idea of rejection. It has to be a positive thing. You have to make it, turn it into a positive thing. It's got to be an experience that changes you and affects you in a positive way. So rejection, whilst it's a negative word and it's a hard thing to deal with, be it going up for a part or, you know, something in life, something in a relationship, something in an industry, in a workplace, you have to be able to accept it, and you have to not beat yourself up and be too hard on yourself when rejection comes along, because rejection in one avenue opens opportunities in another avenue, and that's the way you've got to see it. There's always got to be a counteractive to something like rejection or any of those negative experiences. So not getting that role at the time felt like the dream was over, but in actual fact it's opened up all these other opportunities that have now subsequently allowed that dream to sort of come into fruition, and it's now a reality for me, and it's allowed me to go on and have a really great career thus far, touch wood. So yeah, rejection and hearing no for sort of like the first time as a young actor starting out, when I felt it was so right for me, actually has turned it around, and it's probably been that moment that lit up a beacon and said, you know, this is the moment you use to turn your career around. Mainly physically, I have to say. I do a lot of exercise, and that seems to release, there's been a lot of research done into the release of positive endorphins and emotions, and a lot of the work, specifically in theatre, is quite physical, so therefore there's a constant release. But I make a point of keeping myself really active. I work out, I go running, I play a lot of football, and yeah, I keep motivated in life through sort of keeping my options open and keeping a nice balance, a work play life balance. But in my career, I continue to motivate myself by keeping busy when I'm not necessarily working. So I write, I've got my own screenplay, I work with actors on any given day on scenes or self-tape auditions. But yeah, I think for me, and it's only a personal thing, I think it's about keeping busy, keeping motivated, to limit that amount of time that those negative thoughts might, you know, seep in and sort of manifest themselves. So I try and keep busy and keep as upbeat as I can, and it seems to generate moments that get me in the room in front of a producer or a director or other actors, and that's kind of worked so far, so long may that continue. Being persistent is the key to success. I think you need to have an array of things. You need to be talented, you need to be focused, you need to be driven, you need to be powerful of mind and powerful of body. If that doesn't sound too cheesy and philosophical, you have to really engage with what it is that you want and ask yourself those really kind of hard, honest questions. What do I want out of my life, and how do I get it? And if you really want it and you feel like you've got enough drive in there to do it, then do it and continue until you get there. And believe you me, you will get there. It comes across maybe in the media or the press or when people talk to you that you know, success kind of happens overnight, and sometimes through the vehicle of a film being released, or you know, getting a start for, you know, some brilliant football team, or even just getting a job. That success feels like it happens overnight, and actually it's the man hours and the labour hours that you put in all the way leading up to that. And from my experience, you know, I've been working really hard from being quite a young age, and then focusing on it professionally, certainly in the last sort of 5 or 6 years, and been fortunate as well to have got myself into a situation where I was offered a role that was then, you know, put me into a sort of kind of prolific map. But I guess I would continue to say that it was as a result of my own personal endeavour. So persistence is definitely something that you need to keep strong with, and the ability to sort of build up your own personal firewall to negativity and rejection. In terms of like an inner voice or an inner monologue, as I would probably call it, I try my hardest not to sort of let it linger too long. I try not to let it manifest itself, because I think naturally thoughts can become quite cynical and negative, or at least I believe we might be getting sort of brainwashed into thinking that way now with the way sort of modern society's going. And I just think if your thoughts are positive, then run away with them. If your thoughts aren't so positive, then you have to work really hard to counteract that again and resist that, and make sure that that's not something that you're experiencing an awful lot. Rejection, as I mentioned before, or negative experiences come up quite a lot in my industry, and it's something that it affects the thought process that you have, whether it's thoughts on your own or thoughts with a colleague or a friend or someone that you're working with. You have to be able to turn them around, and I think that's the biggest challenge, and I'm still working very hard every single day to try and get that balance right. But I make a point of listening to all the good stuff, listening to all the not so good stuff, and really trying to harness thoughts into productive thoughts. So if I've not had a great morning and things have been quite quiet, or I've missed out on another job, then I turn that around and say, well, what can I do today to kind of make sure that doesn't happen again? And you really need to take it a day by day process. As they say, Rome wasn't built in a day, and you have to realise that if you want something that's so real for you and a success for you, then you have to be able to put in the hours that are required to achieve that success. You're not going to get anywhere sitting about hoping for it to happen. You have to really get out there and focus on what it is that you want. And I just think you can be more prepared. You can eliminate thoughts that are worthless, and if they're not going to do you any good, then get shot of them and move on to the good thoughts. Relaxing when the pressure's on can be quite challenging, very challenging at times, and pressure can stem from getting out of your bed in the morning, or playing a scene in front of thousands of people in a theatre, or playing a scene in front of a camera that's going to involve several million people around the globe watching that scene. For me, that's my reality. So when the pressure's on, I try and just focus on what's directly in front of me. How can I manage that situation as best as possible, and what's the best set of results that I could get out of that sequence? That seems to be the one that works best. It's no exact science dealing with something like pressure, and a lot of it is the face that you're able to put on it, but you have to work hard at that, and the more you work at presenting that sort of bravado and that confidence, then the more natural it becomes through experiences. Confidence and encouragement, they're like muscles. They're like muscles that need to be built and strengthened, and you need to go to the brain gym every morning and every day to exercise those muscles. So I try and just very much deal with the here and now, and if it's something that's about trying to get out there and fight for a better life, or fight for a better job, or fight for an opportunity, then start from within, start from yourself. How can you better your situation, and take control of it. Take control of your own destiny. Don't allow other people to put your destiny in their hands. They can put up the hurdles, and it's up to you to jump them, but you're in control of your own destiny on that one. My family, my mum, my dad, my two sisters, my little doggy, great friends, people in the industry. They inspire me to do well and keep going and push for bigger and better things. And also they're great at being a leveler, which is to allow your success to happen, to enjoy that success and not continually need and require more. There's always time for that, but you have to enjoy the success when it comes. So you have to work hard to get to a certain place, and wherever that place is, that's the success that you enjoy at that time, and you have to really focus on enjoying it. And where possible, if you're fortunate enough, and this is where I am fortunate, share it with good people, with good family members, with good friends, good colleagues at work or in your industry. Fight tooth and nail for anything you can get, and then when you get it, enjoy it, because you've earned the right to be there, you've earned the right to get that. So I feel like when I work with people who inspired me to come into acting, a good example that I use, which is a well-known name now, is James McAvoy, James is a good friend of mine, and you know, up until about 2 or 3 years ago, he was like a hero, and so we lived and existed in different universes, and quite quickly, very fortunately, we became in contact and worked together, and it just feels like I'm on a par in a way that in a life set of circumstances, clearly not in a career set of circumstances, but you know, we'll get there. But no, people like James and all of his contemporaries, but people that you can relate to as decent blokes, human beings who work hard and have achieved success. But I think most importantly, family members, friends, and peers in the industry, guys that I've worked with, yeah. Yeah, I think disadvantaged is a term that you can use to your advantage, but I don't think you should ever highlight it as something that, you know, it's not a springboard. I think you can use your grounding and your ethic, what be it work or life or play, whatever. Mine is a work ethic. I've got a work gene. I love to work hard, and I get a kick out of that, and that's kind of hereditary, I guess. But you know, you can endeavour to work at that. You can create that for yourself. You have to know that you are from where you are from, and other people are not from that place, good and bad and indifferent, whether it's a financial upbringing, whether it's relationship upbringing, the set of circumstances that you've had to deal with in your home life. Don't let it get in the way. Use it as fuel to make the transition into that next part of your life, which is about you, and that part that you are then in control of. Don't let it get in the way. Don't let it, you know, deal with it, and ensure yourself that you're not using it as baggage or it's labouring you. Try as much as possible to use it and see it for what it is and what it was at the time, and then turn that into something positive. I always feel that you're up against a certain group of people as well who have not had or shared the upbringing that I've had, and so therefore I can use that, you know, that I've got that gusto, that sort of fight, that gravitas to prove myself to someone. And whilst that can be dangerous, it can also be really healthy. So you can straddle that line where you've got a point to prove, but you know deep down within yourself you've already proved it to at least yourself. And once you prove that to yourself, you can prove it to anybody. And that's the thing that I continue to come up against, which is people being pleasantly surprised by what I've got in my locker, despite or as a result of my upbringing and where I've come from. With things now like Twitter and Facebook and all this kind of stuff, it's very easy to be as public as you want, as on show and on display as you want. But for me, I turn it around the other way. I find that the less you show, you're more kind of, I use the word enigmatic, and that seems to be, in my industry at least, you know, on screen and in theatre, quite attractive, and that's what employers look to have. They look to find an enigma, and the part of the story or the project that you're working on is breaking that enigma for the audience. That's exciting. So I find that if you do tweet or Facebook every 2 minutes, then you start to lose that quality, or you're sharing it too often, I guess, and it then undermines it and potentially diminishes. I think you have to remain true to yourself. If your own principles are intact and you've got a sense of integrity about your work and yourself and what you bring to any kind of working environment, then you can stay true to that and you can hold on to that. And again, so much of what I'm saying here, folks, at the risk of sounding patronising, is about confidence, belief, self-worth, determination, encouragement, self-encouragement. You have to work really, really hard. They're kind of buzzwords that get bandied about nowadays, but when you actually break them down, they're really, really straightforward. And you meet hurdles and firewalls and challenges all along the way, but you only get better by breaking through those challenges, and you know, you meet a brick wall, you got to burst through it. That's kind of my attitude, and it's not an attitude that's shared by everybody, but it's one that's worked well for me, and it's certainly something that I'll continue to live by. And there's a brilliant phrase that McGregor uses that was in his biography, and it's kind of the one that spurred me into really believing, and it is, I'll never entertain the notion that this won't work out. Failure's a biggie, there's no doubt in it. It goes back to the story that I mentioned at the top about, you know, the rejection, the idea of the failure. So there's different forms and levels of failure. Failure from within, failure externally, and I think you have to somehow put it in its place. It's never nice, it's never comfortable, it's a horrible thing to have to experience, whether it's in work, in life, from the family, from relationships. You have to somehow be able to put it in its place, and everybody experiences it, everybody endures it is probably a better word, but it's who comes out the other end seeing the light at the tunnel. And I think you have to just, even if it's a tiny little ray, a little shaft, you just got to fight through it, because it's too easy to let failure get the better of you. And again, another question that I have in my head is the voice that says, what are you going to do? You're going to give up? You're going to chuck it? You're going to throw the towel in? You know, in my world, I use boxing analogies. I love boxing, and it's not necessarily about how hard you get hit. It's about how hard you get hit and you can get back up and take more. How hard are you going to throw? And that wrestles that idea of challenge and failure and fighting adversity. It's a good analogy in my head. Be it like a tiny little scene or the entire journey of my career, it's like a boxing fight start to finish, and you know, it's the Rocky story, in it. But there's a reason why Rocky's one of the most successful ever films, because it's a guy hard on his luck, down on his luck, who beats his own failure and beats the failure of a nation and you know, everything else, I suppose. But failure can't define you, and if it does define you, then you may as well chuck it in. You cannot let it beat you. You have to beat it, and that's something that I'm very defiant about. It's something that it'll never get the better of me, regardless of all the failures that I've already experienced, the ones that I'll continue to have, the ones that I'll have in the future, in life or in work. You have to find a way of dealing with it. You have to find a way of bettering it, and we all work daily, hourly, minutely to get that balance right. But you can do it, and it can be done through confidence. Believe. Do not ever entertain the notion that this won't work out.